Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the AdvisorPro Podcast. My name is Colin. Today we're joined by Oksana Matviichuk. Oksana, if I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So you're a visionary strategist, you're a startup scalability expert, and all-round powerhouse in all things global B2B marketing. So you're the founder and CEO of OM Strategic Forecasting, and you're not only the voice, you're the mind behind strategy as a service. So you're helping startups, mid-sized firms navigate growth pivots and business value transformation, right?
Yeah, yeah, Colin.
Awesome. Welcome. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to join to share my experience and my insights with you and with the audience.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And our audience is typically going to be fledgling advisors, non-exec directors, coaches, etc. And I guess benefiting from your kind of experience in terms of your journey and it's tough, right? It's tough. Yeah. How have you found it? How did you do it? How did you start?
So I think I started the idea of having my own company was with me for quite a while. And I needed to kind of fix the basic first. So I moved to the United States about a decade ago. So 20 years ago, when I started my career, I started from a startup, I started from a small company, and then gradually I became a corporate player. And when I moved to the United States, it was already the time for me when I did a lot of operational work. So I transformed a lot of companies where I had executive roles, and I wanted to take a look how does it work in a bigger corporations on a bigger scale, so how issues are different or the same. So this is what led me to big agencies. So I was with WPP around 4 years. I was with Publicis for 3 years. And of course, global agencies, they work with the global clients. So I had an exposure to Verizon, Dell EMC, to Lenovo, and to AWS. So that gave me a very good sense of what is different in between smaller size of the businesses and what kind of challenges they're facing and how those challenges, first of all, can transform on a larger scale because larger company can still have some growth issues, maturity issues. And what did larger companies do differently to get to their scales and to get to their market share? So I think that was the basis. And when I came to the US, it was the very beginning of the B2B marketing. And I want to know the generational shift. So before that, all B2B sales were in-person sales. There were a lot of events and everything, and it worked. But then it worked until it didn't. So, and that was the time when large B2B clients, they came to big agencies for B2B advertising. And that was very new on both ends. And this is where I already stepped in because I had enough of operational work and I wanted to pure focus on the strategy. So this is how I got into the B2B and this is how I got into the global roles.
Thank you. I love the phrase, it worked until it didn't work. I mean, can you expand on that? I mean, what do you see that doesn't work now that maybe worked a few years ago?
I can see things that are kind of working now are the companies which started to adopt AI. But the way they're doing it for the most part, except for the key players, of course. So they're using it as a patch to fix sales, to fix marketing, to get more leads, or to do the client service or client support. But already now we see some examples on the market when it doesn't work. Like as a patch, it doesn't work. Because when we talk about AI, yes, it scales. Yes, it's very efficient. However, if you don't have the right business process behind it, what AI does, it just multiplies the bottlenecks that you have in the business process. And given that humans were able to resolve them when it's like human to human situation, but when it's situation about AI and human, it's not that easy to resolve. So I think that we will see a lot of firebacks in the companies who were trying to patch either sales, either marketing, so things separately, not as a cohesive business process. So this is what I see right now, and this is what I anticipate to happen in the next couple of years on a much larger scale.
It's certainly going to be an interesting time. We had a guest on so long ago, Dr. Alan Scher. He did his PhD with the inventor of AI. I can't remember that chap's name, but yeah, he was on the same kind of theme in terms of business process. Was it junk in, junk out? If you're going to train your AI on junk data, I mean, maybe that's the rise of evil AI. I'm sure someone somewhere is creating an evil ChatGPT if they haven't already created it. Yeah, I'm not sure what our chances are against evil ChatGPT, but there we go. And we can't get most people to do recycling, let alone fight against evil ChatGPT. So, in terms of your experience thus far, then in terms of and strategic, and everything you've experienced, what's been? I guess my question is, after spending such a long time in Publicis and WPP, etc., there must have been a moment of almost like liberation. It must have been a feeling of I'm free. What was that like? Or did you have that? Or are you still yet to have that feeling?
Yeah, I think that it was not like I'm free. I think what happened was that for me, my roles became to be repetitive. So it's like you're living through the same day. So you enter the role, you're facing the same issues, and the only thing that is changing is the logo and the people you're working with.
Exactly.
And I was blessed to work with great teams and with great peers. However, I do remember very vividly in like my last position, there was an issue we needed to address as a team. And I was trying to offer the solution which would productize the process and systemize the process to make sure that we gain efficiency, because agency business model, I think it doesn't have like its best time now. I think it has been disrupted from so many platforms, mindsets, and everything. And so my suggestion was, since we don't have enough resources, so we can basically make a very clear process and then just, like to cut the things that we don't need for each particular campaign. And this is what didn't work inside the agency. And I think like my first reaction was, if I had my own, I would do it this way because I know that it works. And I think for me, that was a turning point, because when you're facing the client and you see the resolution and you have the limitation from the agency you're in, the corporation you're in. So this is when it kind of clicked for me. And this is where I decided that having like the safety of a corporate job with all like the benefits and sleepless nights and whatever comes with it was not worth, because I just could do the way I see fit, the way my gut feels and my experience tells me. So I think was like a turning point for me. In terms of the liberation, yeah, it was some kind of liberation, but I think it's a very short period, because it's a liberation from what you used to have, and you're in the gap of not realizing what's coming. So
Absolutely.
it is liberation, but it's very short.
No, I like that a lot. I guess a common theme that comes up in my own coaching sessions with new advisors is the concept of job security and where that job security actually lies. And I think firmly, if I think about all these conversations I have, firmly there's a realization that job security actually lives up here. It can't be with WPP or Publicis, because if something disrupts them, then they have to let thousands and thousands of people go. And I think a great many of us have kind of been burnt by that so many times that has then prompted a bit of a shift into a different way of working. And hence I guess the audience for this podcast, for our conversation, many of those might have been affected like that. So you're ahead of the curve.
Well, yes, I do agree that job safety is something that I think that like the life that you have comes from what is your mindset. Because I saw it like multiple times, multiple proof of that. So through my career, because I moved countries, I changed 18 places of work. And that's a lot. I mean, and the reason for for the change is that for the markets I worked in the very beginnings, like spending 1 year or 1 year and a half on a position was enough because the market is very dynamic. There are a lot of opportunities to grow and everything. So, in that sense, for me, the story about job security was your intention to actually get a job. So once you do it 3, 4, 5 times, it's a skill. And once you train it, you just achieve. So then the game becomes like how to get the position I really like in the company that I really like. When we are talking about, I think we need to reconsider what kind of job is, because I think that for me there are two different or maybe like three different ways of working, right? So you're an employee, you really don't have a job security. So your job security limits with the notice period, basically. So this is your job security. And once you accept that, you're good to go. You're in much better situation. Another thing is when you quit the corporate realm and then you go into self-employment. So how does it feel? So you do have 2, 3, 5, 10 clients that you personally know, that you personally work with, you establish relationship and you start working with them. And this gives you another, maybe a more like a bigger level of security. However, what many advisors do not see is that there is a limit to that. Even if you have a team, it's limited by your capacity. And this kind of, it could be better than having just a job and being an employee. However, it's not entrepreneurship and it doesn't give you a true security.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so for me, entrepreneurship, I think it's much more interesting path in comparison to employment or being a self-employed.
Absolutely. So there would have been that moment, I would imagine, where Oksana from WPP or Oksana from Publicis, all of a sudden that network, you've done that network. You can't get any more work out of that network. I was exactly the same. And so reaching out beyond that network, I think from what I see, that's where people very often fall over because there's a panic, there's an imposter syndrome all of a sudden going on. And then very often there's a, well, I'm not a salesperson. How am I meant to go and find new leads? I'm an expert in this side of the business, in HR or business process or being a developer. I'm not there to go and find leads. How did you transition that?
It's a journey. It's a journey because you just nailed it in the corporate. When you are within the corporation, so you have a new business team. So you jump in, you find the solution, you pitch, you win, you lose, and then you move forward, correct? So when you're about yourself, like first of all, imposter syndrome. I mean, it's huge. It depends on many factors, but this is what people need to start resolving like far before they're actually going to leave like the secure harbor of unemployment. And of course, then the idea of selling your own like services and goods. So I think that what I saw is a very interesting connection between a person's self-worth and the person's ability to sell. So if there is a self-worth, then it's not about sell, because sell is kind of like pushy, salesy. So this is what we don't like as humans. However, if you have this self-worth, which basically makes you to bring the value to the world, this is where this picture flips. So you're not selling anymore, you're just offering the value.
Exactly. You're creating that environment where people want to buy things from you. No, you're right. No one wants to be sold anything. And I'd argue, has anyone ever bought anything that someone is trying to sell? Maybe a scam or two. I don't know. But the imposter syndrome, that comes up in almost every, maybe not directly in the coaching course that I do, but indirectly, or people kind of skirt around it. And I guess my response is, and I'm not ashamed to say this on here. Do you think I don't have it? I'm sure you have it. I'm sure everyone has it. I'm sure even President Trump has it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. but but ultimately, we always have to question what we're doing. And if you're self-employed, if you're running consultancy on your own, you're going to have that. You have to experience that because you may not have trod that path before. And I think one of the ways that, I'm trying to help people navigate that is by using the term hypotheses. And I use it extensively in marketing campaigns. There's no right or wrong. Yeah? So let's just test a hypothesis, create a hypothesis, put it out there. If it works, great, fantastic. You're amazing. Yeah, if it doesn't work, you're not a failure. It's just a hypothesis that didn't work out. And it just kind of, it's like this pressure release. And you can feel them go, okay, I can try things and fail as long as I've still got a bit of runway. So yeah, there we go. Hey, in terms of your fractional model, I'm intrigued, so it's pretty unique. It seems pretty unique, certainly on the marketing side of things. So how are you helping people unlock scalability? Because I get this question a lot.
So, the system that I'm offering to the market kind of condense everything we discussed today. So, own strategy is a process. When you go through this process, you transform your company into sustainable growth. So, what is the sustainable growth for me? So, sustainable growth is when a system has a scalable unit, a product or a service which has very clear profit margins, execution path. And once these numbers work, then you can allocate a certain amount and to understand how much clients you can buy. So, and then to your point, absolutely. So the testing starts. So does this resonate with the audience? Like how much are they ready to pay? And then we go into all those adjustments. And once we locked the scalable business units, then we can look into the system and scale. When I talk about like a particular company, so to your point, there will be executive team with their imposter syndromes and all of that. So I divide this process into 4 parts. So the first part is actually which is, it's the focus on your internal self within the executive team. And this stage explores the anticipations, what people wanted to do in this business, what were the goals initially, how they are with where the company is right now. So this is a big like internal and team explorational step, which allows to bring everyone first of all to what they really want internally and then to how they see situation in the company for now. So this is kind of like the first stage. Once this is done and everyone is on the same page and all the expectations are clear, we deep dive into the actual numbers of the business. So the revenue, the profit, whether it's growing, declining, what is the product portfolio. So all of that. And then we kind of have a perception of the business from the executive team. And then we have the real situation in business, which is proved by numbers. So, and this is like 2 things which needs to be combined to understand what the executive team wants to do in future on one end. And then the third stage of the methodology is exploring the like the environment, exploring the future. So we have AI trend, we have Gen Z coming into the workforce. So we have a lot of trends which either help company and represent opportunity, or it's a challenge and we need to make a very firm decision how we address this challenge. So sometimes the best solution is just to quit and minimize the cost. So this is the third stage, which explores the future and the team is able to choose what they want to do. And then the last portion, the last step is the actual planning, road mapping, execution, understanding the resources, what the company has, what they need to acquire, and appointing the stakeholders and the people who have authority to actually make this change.
Fantastic. So you're aligning leadership with strategy, with communication, with tasks, with actions, with, I guess it's almost like a cultural shift as well as a strategic shift and a tactical shift.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So once this alignment is done once, this unlocks this sustainable growth, because now you have a very clear visibility of where you are, a very clear visibility of what are the opportunities, and the action plan how to make it happen. So for me, this is a sustainable growth.
Wonderful. In terms of some of the, I guess, misinformation out there, and again, I'm not talking about US media or any media. I'm talking about misinformation about B2B growth because, I mean, look, we have a growth engine. It works incredibly well. There's other things out there. It's almost like following TikTok trends. If you put garlic in your nose, apparently that solves your good, all kinds of different things. If you jump out your car and film yourself, you might, hopefully not get run over. I don't know. But there's all kinds of weird trends out there and all kinds of things going on. If you were to kind of stay true to like one thing and avoid all this other noise, what would it be?
I think the one thing I would stick to, like in the current situation, is an understanding how to combine human capabilities and AI capabilities in harmony. Because we are talking, like we talked about this in the beginning, so the business models will be very much disrupted by AI. And to find this new meaning, what the value is when everyone can set up an AI to answer the calls quickly or to do like something else, right? So we all kind of got a lot of tools to grow on one end. So we need to redefine the uniqueness of the value proposition. So what the value is and what the proposition is. So maybe the value would be the idea that you and I can just have time and have a human conversation. And this will be a new luxury. So we will not like let our AI companions to resolve something, but we will actually meet and talk. So, and I think we will have more and more such things which will redefine what the luxury is, what the human connection is, how we can arrange our lives into more effective, to have more time, to have more meaning. And I think this is where the purpose is coming in. Like, what would I do when AI actually resolves, all, well, not all, but a lot of things. So this is kind of like where my focus lies now.
I have an AI robot vacuum cleaner, and I can guarantee that if this is the future of the world, then we're safe because he's an idiot. He really is. So, okay. Outside of you also do work as an advisor, and I do various advisory, in things like the Founder Institute and others, and I love it. I love working directly with early stage founders. And just recently, I had an opportunity to be a mentor at a Ukrainian incubator as well. You do something similar. What? How do you find that?
I think advisory and mentorship, this is something that like was with me for like a very long time. So in the very beginning of my career, I was actually lecturing at the university, everything strategic marketing, and just when you observe the person and how the person worldview evolves and how much a person can achieve once the shift's happening, I think it's kind of like the most amazing thing in the world. So there is, yeah. So I think this is the main benefit which I'm getting when I'm in an advisory role or in a mentor's role.
Yeah. I think it's one of the best things anyone can do. And being part of someone's journey, being able to help them at that tiny, tiny little point in their journey or a bigger point, whatever it might be. If you can help someone when they need help, well, that's when to help them, right? Yeah. Oksana, thank you so much for joining and really, really appreciate your insights. But for anyone who hasn't checked out On Strategic, absolutely, please go out and check out On Strategic. And you're based in the US, aren't you, Oksana? So
Yes, I'm based in Boston. So I lived in New York for the first 5 years, but now like I moved to Boston, but my heart still lives in New York. So I prefer to think that I live in both cities.
Excellent. Oksana, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And look, this has been the Advisor Pro podcast. Thanks, everyone.